How did you get to where you are today?
I was fortunate enough to be on the advisory group that worked through that for about a year and a half and made a recommendation to the county commissioners and the hospital board. And so the result of that was they transitioned the hospital to now it's Novant, New Hanover Regional Medical Center. And we as the community got a really big amount of money from that. The reason for doing that was to really address the future of healthcare. That's why we got in the conversation. Let's have an open, honest, public, transparent conversation about the future of healthcare in New Hanover County and what's the best way to deliver it. How do we pay for it? How do we stay healthy? How do we really deal with healthcare and not hospitalization issues? And so it was a really informative 18 months for the entire community, including me. I mean, I got in. I was fortunate enough to be the co-chair of the advisory group, but it was it was quite a journey of understanding that industry. It's in some ways a mess, and in some ways a lot of opportunities there. But one of the results from that, we do feel like we'll get where we ended up. We're going to just really have so many opportunities to expand healthcare, especially into areas that almost are healthcare deserts a little bit. And so we're really looking forward to that. But another result was that Novant Health paid us $1.5 billion with a B dollars to do this, plus the county kept approximately $400 million of cash that they had associated with the hospital. So of that $1.9 billion, the county commissioners, in my opinion, had tremendous foresight and took that money out of the government because it was technically county money. The county owned the hospital, but New Hanover Regional Medical Center ran it. But took it out of the government and put it into a standalone independent endowment foundation to manage the money, get it invested, and eventually start making grants in the community that can just have, in my opinion, just unprecedented impact in this area. If you think about we're going to endow the money, but if you think about a target of spending 4% off $1.3 billion, you're 40, 50, $60 million a year opportunity after the money gets invested. And so you compare that to what the United Way, which is doing great work down here, they grant out about $2 million a year. And so without raising any more money, we hope to be able to, once it's fully invested, be able to grant that kind of money. And you can imagine the impact that can have in a small county down here. And so we're excited about that. So I evolved into being currently the chair and the president. We're trying to hire a professional. I'm an amateur, but I'm leading the board. We're going to lead till we get our staff hired and get up and going. So that's the opportunity I have now. That's a long answer to a short question, but that's probably how I've gotten to where you got stuck with talking to me.
What is your definition of the blue economy?
Listen, I'm going to apologize that I don't know much about the blue economy. So I imagine I've been lined up to talk because of my background in the community, but I'm learning like everybody else, down here. One thing I do have a background in is economic development, and I happen to believe personally that the more money that people have in their pocket and the more food they have on their table, the quicker we resolve every other ill in the community. And so I think better jobs, more impactful jobs, more meaningful jobs, and opportunities from those perspectives are critical for us. So we're looking at a blue economy. Does it tie to the ocean? Does it tie to ecological things? Yes, it ties to all that. And one thing I know about economic development is you have to differentiate yourself from other areas, right? And we have such an opportunity down here with the UNCW and the coast, and Wilmington, you mentioned you've been here, is just one of the, my opinion, one of the best places in the world to live. It's a little bit more challenging to make a living down here. It's a very service-based economy for the most part, and so finding a way to capitalize from an economic development standpoint on the resources that we have that others don't. We're very fortunate. It makes perfect sense to me. It sounds like a direction we ought to go.
How is that kind of thinking about the next step, or how that that pretty important maneuver that was executed, how is that thinking in the larger economy and growth of the Wilmington area?
Yeah, it hits from several different angles, and I appreciate you asking the question, because again, the underlying question was, how do we deliver the best health care for this community for the next generation or more? And as we were asking that question, we found out we have a gym and a hospital down here and a medical center, and the one challenge we have is that to expand, to get into the what I'd refer to as the healthcare deserts, to get to the people that need it. It's going to take a tremendous amount of money. I mean, it's just of capital outlay, and so what we've executed, I believe, or what I was on the advisory side of executing, is we have put ourselves in a position where we think we have one of the top medical centers around, and certainly one of the top community hospitals around, that we didn't do it for economic development. We did it for healthcare, but it doesn't hurt that the fact that we have such a gem of a medical center, which now has commitment from Novant to invest hundreds of millions of dollars on top of the money they paid to the county for expansion. For example, I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but I believe just recently that Novant has decided or committed to spend $215 million to build a new hospital on the north side of the county, entirely new hospital. That's we have the land, they have the land, now they've committed the capital resources. So we'll have the capital resources to continue to develop this healthcare network, which certainly is going to be what I believe a hub of economic development. I mean, when some business or entrepreneurs or anyone looking to live here, healthcare is the first thing they look at. Healthcare and schools, it's the first thing they look at. And so with the work we've done with the hospital, I think we've set that stage. And the work that we'll have the opportunity to do through the endowment, it's not just a healthcare endowment, it's a community endowment. So it has four pillars, so to speak. It's public health, obviously, public education, public safety, and community development, which encompasses a lot of the inequities that we've all faced, that our society has faced. So we have an opportunity to really try to directionally try to get below the symptoms of the issues and try to get to the disease of the issues.
Yeah.
And so that's going to take a long time. I'll be long gone before we get there, but we're going to get the foundation built and we're going to get it started. So I think it's got an opportunity to just a tremendous opportunity on economic development, a tremendous opportunity on healthcare, and then everything, it all ties together. Education, public safety, community development, and healthcare, it all ties together.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the health research too, that you have tremendous school in the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, with that kind of research. Did I hear that correctly around health?
Well, yeah, with the research the UNCW is doing, connecting with the the natural resources that we have down here. I'm not an expert on it, but I'm expert enough to know that it's very impactful, it's very unique, and we have a tremendous opportunity to develop that into almost an economy of itself, of its own. we all know as we move forward, we've got to make some changes. We've got to go to more renewable sources of life, right? We can't just keep using up our planet. So we got to figure better ways to do that. And I think we have the opportunity to be at the forefront of some of that.
I think there's kind of an interesting convergence, if you would, with the environment and saving the Wilmington environment, as well as making that that kind of impact there. And so that research in health and its the impact of environment on health, I think, is an opportunity.
Well, there's no question about it. And what we have in Wilmington that some other places don't have is a quality of place. You hear about quality of life and things like that, and it's overused. But we've just got advantages down here from natural resources and just true quality of a place on this God's earth that we need to protect and we need to take advantage of in a positive way and utilize it, not just economically, which we should. I mean, we should utilize it economically, but the more we take advantage of this quality of place, the better off we're all going to be. The better, and then the more jobs will come. You got to start. You got to start the foundation to get to the top of the pyramid. And so we've got a stronger foundation than most.
You look out 10, 15 years, 20 years from now in the Wilmington area, what do you kind of hope, give me a picture of what you hope for that future?
The first, and I said it 16 years ago when I was mayor, and I'll say it again, I want my children to be able to live here and raise their families here. And to do that, you've got to earn a living. I mean, it's just, I don't mean to sound like it's all about money, but you've got to have that foundation. And so what I want for my kids is the same thing I want for some of the families in town that are having trouble finding affordable housing, that are having trouble making ends meet at the grocery store. We've got to further develop. We've got a great place to live, but we've got a lot of work to do to further develop our economy so that people can have a good just a good, solid way to make a living down here. I've said it before, it's the greatest place in the world to live. It's a little bit of a hard place sometimes to make a living in some ways. So when, I would love for my two older ones have moved away, and I got one more I'm holding on to here in college as hard as I can. But in a lot of ways, we go where our careers can take us. And so I would love for us to develop an economy that can keep my kids here and keep other folks' kids here and have people from other places want to come here and be a part of this community in a high level. So again, we've got a lot of work to do on the ills of the community, and I think the endowment's going to have a real good opportunity to do that. But I tell you, it starts with putting people in a position to make a living.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned it's going to be a lot of hard work. What are the things that need to get done? I mean, what are the 2 or 3, 4 things that need to be focused on, immediately? And I use focus versus implemented, because it does take time. What are those things that the community leaders should really start to come around and align around and focus on to start this momentum to get that hard work done?
Yeah, it's it's a circle. I mean, the issues of the community are in a circle, and it's hard to say where do you start, because do we address the crime issue, which is caused by poverty, which is caused by lack of education, which you know what I mean? It kind of goes around there. So look, my role is to lead the endowment and find partners to invest with. We need nonprofit partners, whether it's from the university or the county or the city or all the other nonprofits. We've got to come together in a community way and answer that question that you have. I don't have the answers to it. I really don't. I mean, I could give you 100, we know, now I'm getting into my opinion, but we know we've got to do something about early childhood education. The facts are there that if we lose them from an education standpoint, by the time they're in the third grade, if they're behind, we're going to lose them. And so, we have got to find a way, but then, that sounds all noble and healthy. It says, oh, well, let's take a bunch of this money and build preschools all over the place. Well, that might be the right thing to do, but then we've got to get into, where are they sleeping at night? Are they sleeping on in a box under a bridge? I don't care how many preschools you have. If that's the case, you're going to lose. So, where do we put the stake? So I think one of the first steps we're going to do as an endowment is we're going to hold just absolute listening input sessions from the community to get them to answer your question, because I don't have the answers to it. We all have ideas, but and one of our biggest challenges we know is we need to find the partners that we can really invest significant amounts of money in, but that can give long-term results that answer those questions that you just asked. So, it's obvious. It's early childhood education, which leads to, the potential for getting out of high school, wherever they end up, the kids end up, and being able to get a job here and raise a family here, create a better family environment than maybe that some of our folks that are challenged sometimes are faced with now. And it's going to be a generational thing. We live in the world of quick fixes and 10-second sound bites, and this isn't going to happen that way. This is going to have to build a foundation. We're going to have to. I wish I had answered your question. I'm filibustering, but the hard work is we as a community have to come up with what those are, and then we got. We don't even have the answer to questions, much less the solutions to it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, I've been doing community work for a long time, and so many times the answer to the question is we just don't have enough money. We can't tax the people enough to raise the money. We can't, we don't want to raise taxes. Whatever the issue is, we don't have the money. Those days are over. We got the money, and now we've got, it's a once in a lifetime thing, because you take $1.3 billion in a little bitty county like this down here. We've got the opportunity now. Now we got to put the muscle behind our mouth and go, okay, now that we've got the money, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? You can throw money at anything, and some of it goes down the toilet bowl, but we've got the money. Now we've got to find the solutions. And I wish I had the answer, but we're going to work till we get there.
Yeah, no, I know it's a really hard problem, and I've worked in federal government or with federal government a lot to know that $1 billion can be a rounding error on a mistake too. So it's a lot of money, but in a lot of cases it can go really fast too. But and I think what you're pointing out is having that kind of that aligned vision and strategy for what the community wants to become is going to be so important. I think the listening tour is going to be very informative. And there'll be a lot of people that will speak their needs, their immediate needs, but that leadership body probably needs to come together with the overarching, hey, this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there, kind of plan to hang these other decisions on.
Yeah, there's no question. And we're committed to doing this before we start developing our criteria for the grants, before people start applying for the grants. And it's going to be a little bit challenging because, there's so many immediate needs. I mentioned the United Way. They do such good work, and our nonprofits are out there. They're housing the homeless. They're feeding the hungry. They're They're getting coats on the backs of of people that are cold. They're doing all those things. And where the community is going to have to go along with us is that we're not going to replace that. That's not our job here. That's going to continue. We're not going to replace work that the government is doing. It's the government's responsibility to educate our children. It's their responsibility to build schools. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is to layer on top of all that and take it to another level and get to the social ills that are keeping those areas from being successful, and get down and try to think very long term about, adding to those opportunities. So, we're not another United Way. That's not our intention. We're going to try to be very long-term and strategic. Not that they're not, but they're doing such great work on on the local level, on the ground all the time, that we're gonna try to be, again, maybe get beyond the symptom of the problem and try to get to what the problem itself is.
I would like to return back to the jobs. What did at a gut level, kind of an opinion level, what are some of the the opportunities that you see, especially given this wonderful quality of place that Wilmington and the Wilmington area has? What what are those 3-4 things that you think, wow, if we could only attract them, this could be good for the future?
Well, I will say we as a community have always been, I mean, very sensitive to that quality of place we have. I think every person I've ever interacted with respects that we've got to have clean our rivers got to stay clean, our beaches got to stay clean, our waterways, just our marshes, the natural resources we have. So I think it's fair to say that we as a community all respect that. That's kind of why we're here. That's why we live here. And so the challenge is, how do we really take advantage of that beauty that we have? And I think we've done a pretty good job of preserving, and make it more economically advantageous to us, from a job standpoint. And I really, I wish I had the magic answers to that, but what I do know is that we have some resources that others don't have. Somehow we've got to garner that, kind of get that almost under an umbrella, and think, okay, what kind of jobs fit into this, to fit into this world. Let's face it, the future of automobiles doesn't have fossil fuels in them, right? I mean, it's not going to be too long. We're all going to be driving battery powered cars. And so we think, okay, frankly, just from a manufacturing standpoint, what does that create for us? It's a cleaner kind of opportunities. But I've just got to think that we as a society are going to continue to recognize that, just like we know we can't keep burning gasoline into our atmosphere, that okay, so we're going to do battery powered cars. We've sort of got that figured out. Well, we're going to figure out some other stuff, and some of it might be related to the ocean. I don't know. Some of it might be related, and I'm not a scientist and I don't have much of a technical background from that standpoint, but there's got to be a way to take advantage of our ecology, so to speak, down here.
Yeah, no, that's great. What you've talked about the leadership and kind of the community. Are there challenges that you kind of face to come aligned, get that alignment, and even in the endowment, like, will you have those challenges of trying to bring together the community to decide where investments will be made?
Yeah, if you don't have those kind of challenges, you're not listening, right? I mean, you're a dictator. If you don't have those kind of challenges, so certainly there are going to be differences of opinion, differences of direction, and that's why we need to listen to each other. And that's why we need to to talk about it. And that's why I'm really so proud of the county commissioners for having the foresight of frankly taking this money out of the government and put it in an endowment type situation to keep politics out of it, because, every 2 years we elect a couple of new county commissioners. Well, we may end up zigging and zagging and next thing you know, the money's gone. Whereas in this case, we're fairly, even though we get appointed in different directions, we're fairly insulated from politics. So we feel like we can do the absolute right thing. But sure, there are going to be challenges. I mean, there's surely, and that's a healthy thing. Those kind of challenges, if you don't have those challenges, I'm telling you, you're just not asking enough questions. We need those challenges. We need those differences of opinion. It's one of the things I respected so much about being on the advisory group as we really researched what to do with the hospital. If you spend a little time and poke around, I mean, it was very spirited and a lot of different opinions. People had a tremendous emotional connection to that hospital. And so that was all so healthy for us to really have that transparent dialogue. And we need to continue that transparent dialogue. And look, we're going to make mistakes, but we're going to listen, and we're going to try some things. Doesn't work, we'll try something else, but we're going to keep trying. But I think the county commissioners were very wise to put it in a structure whereby, you're just not going to get trapped into some traditional political mumbo jumbo.
Is there other models of this, other parts of the country that have done this? And are you learning from them too?
Yeah, I think we're the unicorn. I mean, I think we are a very unique situation. Now, there's some similarities and there's some similar organizations. And one of the first things we've done, we've been in existence for about 6 months, maybe 9 months, almost pushing a year. We've had the money for about 6 months. So we've been trying to slowly get it invested. And so, but the first thing we've done is I don't know how many sessions we've had with leadership from other endowments and foundations, in North Carolina, outside of the state. To your question, we have reached out to so many of them. Some of them have been like the Duke Endowment, the Duke, I guess, whatever it's called, Duke Foundation, has been around for a long time, or the Dogwood Trust up in Asheville, North Carolina, came out of a similar situation, a hospital sale, and they're about 2 years older than us, so we're right behind them. But they're a health fund. I mean, they're designated, but we spent a lot of time with them. So yeah, we're listening, but there's some things that make us unique. Number one, it's a lot of money in a very small county, and we're not restricted to one focus area like healthcare. We have 4, and frankly, community development is pretty broad. You hit on those 4, you can hit on just about everything that goes on in the community. And so we think we're unique, but we have reached out. I bet you've had 10 or 15, maybe even 20 sessions with other endowments just to learn what's worked well, what hadn't worked well. Just tell us the mistakes you made so we won't make them, And so, yeah, we've been doing a lot of that.
So what are the 4 areas that the endowment, kind of those 4 focus areas?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It's public health.
Okay.
Public education, public safety, and then community development.
Got it.
And the community development really targets social injustice issues, social inequities that have existed for a long time, that have really created a bad foundation for some of the ills in our community. And it didn't happen overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. We're damn well going to start. What
is your greatest hope for the future?
What a question. I mentioned the social inequities, and there's a difference between equality and equity, right? And so I'm a dreamer, but I'm a practical dreamer. I live in these dreams, but also when it gets down to it, you practically get done what you can get done. But you got to start with those dreams, and to have a dream where we've eliminated, where we don't have to have the conversation anymore about social and racial inequities. When that's just not a conversation piece anymore. Now, some say we've made some strides. Some say we haven't done much. We as a community, as a society, haven't done much, and I think it's some of both. But if we can get to where that's not a conversation, that's not even in the conversation anymore, I think we will have solved an awful lot of things.